everyone on our roster, everyone is a product of municipal public golf. That's where we all got our start.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast. I'm smiling, Jonathan. I know you're smiling. We just got off a great conversation that you guys are about to listen to with a new friend, someone that we highly respected beforehand. But man, they say, I don't know, don't meet your heroes. But like, I've always looked up to Don and what Renaissance does and all this other stuff. And like, it just goes to show again, over and over again, that people in golf, 99% of the people in golf are amazing. So we had an interview, a good conversation with Don Placek of Renaissance Golf Design. Jonathan, immediate thoughts?
My immediate thought is I understand now why George Costanza wanted to be an architect, because if I could just pick
Art Vandelay.
Yeah, if I could just pick, if I had to go back, I don't know if I would do it because I don't really like mowing grass and things like that. But the more that we keep talking to golf architects, the more interested I am in not necessarily the architecture, but the people who are the architects. I cannot wait until we could play golf with the folks that design the course that we're on. Maybe that's a trip we should put together where it's like, hey, we're going to go and play 3 or 4 courses, but we're going to play it from an architect's perspective, and we're going to rent it out. It's going to take a couple more hours than normal because we're going to pause in the middle of a fairway and talk about like,
hopefully.
Well, we're going to pause in the middle of the fairway, whether our ball is anywhere near there or not. But there's so many design things now that just draw your attention. And we have yet to have anyone on that is an architect that you just don't think, gosh, they're just so good at what they do. And they're such good people too. Like, and Don, listen, today was cat's meow on it for sure.
Yeah, so much fun. You guys are going to love this episode. And just what a great lineage of folks that he's come from, and there's people he works with. I mean, yeah, it's hard to put into words. We'll stop talking and get to the episode. But before we do that, many thanks to our friends at Summit, the Bead Ratties of the world, Zero Restriction. We're recording this the day before the Ryder Cup. That Ryder Cup stuff they have looks amazing. Yeah.
So, if I needed more golf clothes.
I know if we need more stuff, but definitely keep an eye on that. Go to their websites and use BestBall 20 and you can get 20% off your order. So thanks. Many thanks to our friends, Dan Drellinger, Billy Dratty, and all the folks there at Summit. Also, thanks to Western Birch. We talked about going up to Northern Michigan to go play some golf with Don. We would definitely be carrying along our best ball tees from Western Birch. They're awesome. You guys can customize your own tees as well. Go to westernbirch.com and use Best Ball in the shipping cart, and you can get a free gift with your order. But yeah, let's jump into it. We think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode with Don Placek of Renaissance Golf Design, and hopefully you guys can get out and play some of their golf courses. Y'all enjoy. All right. Again, joining us today on the Whole Story Podcast, Don Placek. Don, thanks for being here.
My pleasure entirely, Robby.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan already mentioned that you have an incredible background, and I'm sure we'll background one in what you've done, but right behind you right now. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, but we want to back it up to when you first got into golf.
Mm-hmm. Well, golf's been a part of my life from the very beginning. My dad was a teaching pro at Lakewood Country Club in Denver, Colorado, at Donald Ross course. He was an assistant pro there, and life for him was all very much golf oriented as well. He did his growing up in Nebraska. So he had a chance to take a head job at a small course in McCook, Nebraska, when I was in 2nd grade. So our family moved there, and I got to play as much golf as I could have ever wanted. And That's really where my love for it came from. And it was fostered by all the people around me that encouraged a young person to be on the golf course and taught you how not to walk in someone's line and where you should stand when someone's hitting and how to play ready golf and all those kinds of things. So um, I've been around it my whole life and really grateful for not just the golf start, but the people part of it. And it really made a path for me to follow, and how to treat people on the course and off the course. And at the end of the day, how to be a good golf companion. Because if you can do that, it doesn't matter if you can break 100 or not. And so I was fortunate to learn that early from the people around me. And that's really how I got my start.
That's an interesting statement there, especially from an architect. Whenever you're designing and think about a golf course, are you thinking about how people are going to interact and engage and feel at the end of the round besides just scoring and what it looks like?
That's a great question, Jonathan. I think the answer to that is yes. And it's kind of, what context. Going around all the courses at Sand Valley recently with three of my lifelong friends in the game, who I owe a great deal to. We talked about that a lot. And it is who you're playing golf with. And if you're playing with people whose company you enjoy, that instills a measure of confidence and some room for error. Whereas, sometimes you're playing with folks you've never met before, trying to sort that out and sort of how to go about it is interesting. I grew up caddying, so there was a lot of that too. But I think from an architectural standpoint, we talked all the time while we were there about how important it is to be in play off the tee.
Mm,
You don't have to be more than 150 yards, but if you're findable and you can hit it and advance it again, the psychology of enjoying a golf course is so important,
mm,
with that. And I know, as you get more accomplished and you're able to play better and your abilities improve, driving the ball becomes something that you're more capable of doing. But gosh, it's demoralizing when your three buddies are in play off the tee and you're not. And that doesn't happen all the time, but after it happens one or two, it gets tough. And I think, that's getting everybody out of the gate is important, and then let them run their own race from there.
Yeah, when your friends are walking down the fairway and you make a right to the woods or something like that.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, Sand Valley is a great place to be able to enjoy that because it is very wide open. So most of the time, you should be able to find a fairway, if not the one you're supposed to be in, maybe the next one. So
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah, no, that's really interesting, and I like that concept. And you mentioned something earlier, like it doesn't matter what you score; it's about being a good person to be on the course with. And I'll even go to the stranger aspect, right? It's one thing to play with friends, but two, it's another thing to meet people on the first tee. And you can quickly figure out, like, is this someone I'll be friends with at the end of the round, or am I just going to enjoy the course? And I've already not written them off, but like kind of know quickly because golf will reveal character very fast.
No
Um,
question.
so
No
yeah,
question.
I
Yeah.
like that thought. We always say golf is people, and we love it. Again, not because of the scores. We do enjoy great courses, but it's about like you said about the three folks that you get to do it with that day. So
No question about it. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, well, okay. So you grew up in the game. You had a great experience learning about the etiquette of the game and all this other stuff. When did the artistic side come into play? When did you start saying, I kind of like drawing and designing and doing this kind of stuff?
Yeah, that was about the same time, honestly. I'm really grateful, Robbie, that I had parents that my mom was a teacher in elementary school, and obviously my dad was a teacher of golf, and they had the wherewithal to just try and expose myself and my sisters to as many different things as possible, because you don't know what you like. And typically we grow up liking what our parents like, or whether it's the music that they play, we end up liking that. But my mom in particular always had a blank pad or a Big Chief pad with crayons and, colored pencils and things, because those were the tools of her trade. So I was around them a lot, and and so it's just sort of happened. The golf part of it was already there, and then the paper and pencil or crayon aspect of it, those two things were kind of just moving at a very similar parallel um, pace. And I just love to draw. I learned pretty early that I did not have the capacity to do portraits or living things. I was much better at landscapes and relatively inanimate things like trees and landscapes, because you really couldn't do that wrong. It was all sort of all in the eye of the beholder. I didn't spend much time trying to draw people's faces and things, because if I did, they never actually looked like that person. So there was a built-in metric for that. But with landscapes and stuff, it was never wrong. It was just whatever I saw it. And I think that freedom kind of developed that interest, I think.
So, where did your influence come from if you were to look back? Because you talked about starting golf early in the Colorado area and then moving
Hmm.
to Nebraska.
Yes.
Those are only kind of most recently destination golf locations, right? We live in the South and everyone just assumes you go where it's warm and you can be there year round. So, where does your influence come from? Is it just historical places? Is it drawing from experiences and courses that you've played?
I think it's all of it. And golf is just so fascinating that way, because every door you open gives you three more doors after that. And so early on, growing up in Nebraska, there was only the one golf course. But when you get exposed to that one big course, the really big one that you don't know anything about, and you have this realization that golf is so much more than what you're intimately familiar with. Um, Particularly, a good example of that is Nebraska. I mean, that wasn't a destination on anyone's golf map, really, for any reason, until Bill Coore and Ben Crenshaw realized sandhills, and then that's just the OG on so many levels, isn't it? Um, Going far away to this really epic Narnia sort of place to play golf that no one even knew was there, and it gets really magical. And there are a lot of places like that in Nebraska. But I think what we're discovering is there are a lot of places like that in a lot of states that aren't where you mentioned, Jonathan, that are just sort of regional in the Southeast, where typically that's where people play golf. And what a gift that is, isn't it? I mean, you know, Dismal River, for example, and also in Nebraska. I mean, that landscape there it blows your mind. If there was no golf there, it would still blow your mind.
Mhm.
But then you sprinkle in some interesting golf holes in that landscape, and now you really have something. And I think there are every state has its own sort of recipe of geomorphology that lends itself to a really interesting golf course. And the way the game has grown, there's been more of an appetite, there's been more of a market to maybe try and find some of those places and see what can be done from a golf standpoint there. I mean, the places that are far off, that really appeal are great because of that, but that's also an inherent challenge in trying to get golf realized there. Um, you know, Irrigation and electricity and all the infrastructure you need for golf. If it doesn't exist already, chasing it out to some of these remote locations can be a challenge. Um, but lucky for all of us, the clever folks are finding a way to get that done so these places can be new places to play the game. And I mean, if I zoom out for a hot second, I think all of this just started. I'm not the first person to say this. During COVID, there was this, everybody who loved golf already loved it, like ourselves, but people that never played it tried it. People that used to play it maybe came back to it, and then they got added in, and they haven't gone anywhere now. I mean, that population of people who love the game is really growing, and it's fascinating to think that was a residual of a global health crisis. I mean, we just live in such interesting times.
Yeah, and we are. That is one really, really good thing that did come from COVID, right? Like,
Mhm.
a lot of bad, but for a golf sicko like the three of us, we're all we're beneficiaries of that. And I think Jonathan, in maybe 130 something episodes that we've done, that might be the first time we've heard geomorphology, or
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't on my bingo card today, but
No, we have
we'll
not
make sure to
have
add
not
it.
had that one before.
It's interesting. The little books they have in all the rooms at Sand Valley are about the Sand County and the history of the value of sand and how it affects the economy and what they can grow there and all the different things. Sand is good.
Yes.
Sand is good.
Sand is good. And, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, and so we are seeing that as well. We've have courses, like I know you're familiar with, like Old Barnwell and the Tree Farm, and then Broom Sedge on the other side of Columbia. So,
Hmm.
sand is good.
Sand is good.
Yes,
Sand
very
is good.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, like Jonathan said, maybe where you've gotten some of the inspiration for some of this stuff, like who are some of the other architects, like maybe the historical ones that you kind of
Hmm.
draw some inspiration from?
Yeah, I think, that my sort of stock answer for that are the ones that were really able to find interesting stuff without all of the mechanical and technological advantages that we have now to
Mm.
make golf holes from tee to green. Obviously, Alistair McKenzie, because my mentor, one of the greatest mentors of people in the game of golf, Tom Doak, that was his hero. And he paid really close attention to McKenzie. And so it stands to reason that I would too. And so does everyone else that sort of falls under Tom's um, uh, pedigree tree, if you will. And so definitely that. But I'm also enamored with architects like Seth Rayner and Charles Blair McDonald, who what was accomplished at the Lido or National Golf Links or anything that Rayner has been involved with. Just the really, really big brushstrokes that they painted with, the resources that were limited. But they were so committed to the type of architecture that they were trying to realize. They didn't go 80 or 90%, which boggles my mind. They could have said, well, that's a really big, useful right to left landform, but we need 10% more. It's not quite there yet, and that attention to detail and their commitment to do that is why they're precedent architects now to pay attention to, whether you like that really deliberate style or you really like the stuff that looks like it's sprinkled in a light rain onto a property like it's always been there. It really doesn't matter which is which. I mean, it comes to mind just Sedge Valley and Lido, fresh in my mind just because I was just there. But wow, talk about two golf courses that couldn't be any more different. I mean, the only thing they really have in common are there's 18 holes. After that, they are not the same animal at all. Um, but it's just another one of those things that makes the game great.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask if you did get a chance, and it sounds like you did, to play Lido. I
Hmm.
did while I was there,
Hmm.
and I'm curious, what had you played it before, and maybe what your thoughts were.
I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to play it before. When Tom hosted the Renaissance Cup there, um, and we celebrated Tom and Brian Schneider's work among Peter Flory and Brian Zager and all the other people that helped get that concept accurately depicted and then realized. Um, so, the first time you play it, it's just so big. It's so bold. I was there during construction with Brian Schneider on my way through town and heading somewhere else. And it was early in the project. It was like being on Mars. There was no vegetation. It was sand as far as the eye could see. I mean, it was really hard to tell what you were even looking at out there. So, what's been realized in all the little nuanced contours are they just bend your mind. Um, but the advantage I had was I had seen it before, so it looked different the second time around. kind of like St. Andrews, you know, the first time you go around there, there's a fair amount of blind shots, and the caddy says hit 5-iron at the steeple. So you do, but you don't know what's lurking just right or just left because he doesn't tell you. So it's not in your head. You're just trying to hit the ball at the target. Then the second time around, you know what's over that contour, and you know what's in store for you if you go a little too far this way or that way. And it's amazing how one round can change your complexion. And that's what it was like for me. You know, the guys were like, well, you've seen this place before, so you should know how to play it. And we talked a little bit about how the first time around, you don't know what to expect. And then as soon as you know what's lurking, um, it's a categorically different golf experience. But you also know where to hit it for fun too. You know, landing it in the punch bowl on 12, or you know where to hit it on the Redan or whatever. It doesn't really matter. You know what the shot is. You may not pull it off, but at least you've got some idea of what the blueprint is for success. So, but I love golf courses like that they just evolve. They're like chameleons. They just change every time you go around, and any golf course that does that, doesn't matter what the architecture is, that's good.
That is the good and the bad of going to play a new place. So it was my first time at Sand Valley, first time playing Lido and all the other courses,
Mhm.
and I want to have an experience to be able to play them again. Like I
Indeed.
want to play them for the second time because of exactly what you said. To know and appreciate more of what's around the corner, or like the caddy would say, hit it to that rock, and you're like, okay, I don't know why you said that, but you do
Right.
it. And I would love a second round at each of those places, especially the Lido.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a fun track, and one that I hope to get to do again here soon.
I do too. There's nothing like going around the second time, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think about those ideas when you're designing courses as well?
I think so. You know, hopefully when tee to green, there's a reason to be off the tee on the right side of the fairway or the left side of the fairway. Um, Not just aiming down the middle. You know, I think that's one of the things about wit that just makes it so critical is if you're going to have strategy, you have to have enough room to play away from the middle of whatever's defined as the fairway in order to get an advantage that's measurable enough to actually try it. And, you know, thin golf courses are challenging. There's no doubt about that. But it's really important. And I think that's where the second time around, Robbie, to your point, is now you know why you want to be here and why you don't want to be there, and you probably know the risks of getting to point A as opposed to playing away from that trouble, and then the ensuing shot hopefully has some measure of challenge that you're faced with because you took the safe way around off the tee. But that's what good golf is, just letting the player make all of those choices. Um, and we really try hard for that because as long as everything's gray, it tends to stay interesting.
I think that's a large assumption that me as a golfer gets to make those kinds of choices. Typically, the ball just goes wherever it goes. I'm not usually involved in that process.
We all have our highs and lows, that's for sure. But I think the discovery of that, part of that is where when you have those days like we all do, where your misses are right and left, and you're standing over it and you're just not sure. Um, if at least if the target you're given is wide, hopefully you can take that consternation and ratchet it down one or two and hit a good one so that you're in a better position to hit a good one the next time you're standing on the tee instead of not so. Um, that psychology is really important, and it's categorically important in enjoyment. Got to have some room to make room for error. I think that's one of the things I've learned most, many things from Tom Doak is, there's the A, B, C strategy of the whole, but where golf's really interesting is when you miss, now, now what? And because that's where we all are the lion's share of the time. And Tom's always thinking about not basic strategy so much, at least as I've paid attention over the years, but the ensuing strategy from your success or failure on your previous shot. And I think that's where his golf course is. And I like to think that our work associated with him really shines is in that realm.
Do, I just thought about this because yesterday I was going to go out and play by myself, and it ended up picking up with two new folks I never played with. John, if you're listening to this, shout out. Uh, and then also Bob. But Bob was 90
Mm-hmm.
and playing from the most forward possible options, right? Because he's 90
Yes.
years old and still somehow out there playing golf.
Good for him. Good
Yeah,
for
no,
him.
100%. Like, if I could double my age and still be playing golf as good as Bob, I'd be fantastic. If I could play as good as golf as Bob does now, it'd be fantastic. But that's a separate conversation. Um, Whenever you're doing the design and you're thinking through, like, what are the options, are you also thinking, because I don't know how much control, once you hand the golf course over to the operator, how much control you have over the tee boxes and things like that. But is there like a layers of envisioning golf in places and spaces? Or is it like, well, we hope everyone ends up in this spot from wherever they start?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, the first thing that popped into my mind when you're asking that question, Jonathan, is, the truth is you are handing the keys over to whoever the developer happens to be, or in some cases a municipality, um, a single owner, and then right behind them is, whatever their vision for how it ought to be presented. What's the playing surface going to be like? Is it going to
Mm-hmm.
be green or firm, or somewhere in between? And so, once you step away, you really do lose control of that. So to your point about, how do you sort of bake in some of that, I guess you'd call it risk, just
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what you don't know about how it's going to be taken care of. I think the thing that's important is to realize that you can't really design for a distance. And distant, everyone's hitting it further now, but there's still all of us who top it off the tee. And that's never going to go away. So, as long as you build holes that are just natural, you build a bunker where it really ought to be a bunker. You don't build a bunker where there's nothing there, but it's at some sort of distance you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to affect from a certain player on a certain tee on a certain day in a certain competition. You can get lost and never really succeed at trying to check all those boxes. So if you just sort of understand that you're never going to get it all right for everybody all the time and just build stuff that's natural, it's likely varied enough so that it will affect the right people that do hit it really well often enough, and it won't affect the people who don't hit it very well very often, but not too much. And any site with any kind of topographical interest, if you do a good job of routing it, will kind of do that for you in a lot of ways. And so you don't get bogged down with worrying about that, because if you do a good job building a golf course, a lot of people are going to play it, hopefully, and hopefully it'll be around for a really long time. So who knows what the average driving distance is going to be 5 years from now. There might be so many more people playing that it's 100 yards less because more people are playing that aren't as accomplished. So, that bunker you were trying to get at the right target might not be in play for anybody by that time. So it, it's kind of an approach where you just sort of build what makes sense and then let the chips fall.
That makes me feel a little bit better because I always felt like all the sand in the middle of the fairway was just targeting me somehow. And apparently it's not intentional. It's just that I'm still not that good at golf.
There is a lot to that. I think that's one of the things I enjoy about getting out and watching people play, is it's just a reminder that our golf games are as unique as we are as people. And, to try and cater to one user group too much is that can lead you down a path that you ideally don't want to go.
Well, you mentioned Tom kind of thinking about maybe the misses off the tee as it relates to their approach shots, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that, for me, that's kind of and it's funny I say this because that's probably the worst part of my game, my approach game.
Mm.
But that's probably the favorite shot, right? When you have a club in your hand that you will attack the green or try to land it on the green.
Hmm.
Um, how how do you design that, like you said, for people to recover maybe after a bad drive or uh, take advantage of a good one?
Hmm. I, a lot of that probably, Robbie, goes back to studying stuff in the UK, where the wind is such a factor. uh, you really have to be cognizant of that it can be blowing really hard in your face or behind you or whatever. So there's a lot less trouble per se in the front of a green on a second shot or an approach shot for that reason. The simple idea is there's a bunker on the right because off the tee there was a bunker on the left, and you just sort of march down tacking back and forth. But um there are so many ways to challenge shots without an obvious hazard like a bunker or a depression or anything like that. You can challenge it just by having the green tilt away from you or one side to the other can offer a real advantage in an approach shot to where it isn't even so obvious to the eye. um, but as soon as you hit a shot that gets away from you and realize I would have been better off either leaving it short or I would have been better off going at it from a different angle had I gotten to that point initially. I think, you know, their contour and short grass are just the most interesting, enigmatic, and quite honestly playable ways for the largest number of people to be challenged. But it's not obvious, and I think bunkering over time, because we've had the opportunity to really stylize bunkers and do things visually with them, and people are paying attention to architecture now, so that bunkering is a that can be the inherent identity of an entire golf course, is what
Mm.
the bunkers look like. And that's fine, but I think we just need to try and remember to leave room for the completely, not so much the token bunkerless hole, but shots that are affected by contour, not so much by visual hazards.
Yeah, I love that. And Jonathan and I had the experience, our first experience of playing overseas, played some links golf, played Carn. We got to play the old course. We got to play it in reverse, actually.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
yeah, you talk about learning a different style, really trying to use, like you said, the contours of the land and how you hit a shot you think is right down the middle of the fairway, and all of a sudden you see it kind of bounce one way or the other because that's just how the land is. And so
Something.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you are at Renaissance, and you guys are well known for the work you have done in the golf space for golf courses, things like that. Tell us, and maybe the listeners out there who aren't familiar with your brand, with your design firm, a little bit
Hmm.
about it, and then maybe some of the historical courses, and we'll talk about maybe what's next or what you're currently working on, but kind of what you've done so far.
Hmm. Well, our group, my colleagues are Eric Iverson, Brian Schneider, and Brian Slonick, and the four of us have been working with and for Tom for decades. And I think one of the things that makes what we do interesting is it's a fluid creative process. It's not so much come up with an idea and build the idea as it is, you know, throw a rock in the pond and see what the waves look like. And if you like the waves, then you're good. Or if you don't, throw in another rock in a different spot. And it becomes um, a process of collaborative editing. And I think that's why we are able, largely under the projects where Tom's the architect of record and we're helping him build, um, to where any one of us are the architect of record and we're building for that too, is this comfort that we've developed over time to really lean into asking what someone thinks and not feeling protective of your original idea. It's really hard when you think you've built something cool or you've found something cool to let go of it. But I think that's where, you know, when we have support from each other on projects where you're neck deep in it all day, looking at it all day, thinking about it all day, looking at it from all angles, and they come in and are there to be supportive and open dialogue. And, well, have you thought about this? Or what if you did that instead of that? Or shouldn't the green be over there and not here? And it's really hard not to get protective of your work when you pour yourself into it. It's really hard not to do that. But I think, you know, over the years, we've learned from the top down that if you're listening to um, thoughts from people whose opinion you value highly, you can just drop that shroud of protective idea um, uh, security and listen. And what we've found, I think, over time is that everything has just gotten so much better because of that. And as long as you're comfortable with something being as good as you feel like you can make it, the point of origin on the ideas doesn't matter as much as what the end thing presents. And I think that's, this industry is, um, there are egos in any industry where a design is being, you know, um, tested, and people's opinions matter a lot and things like that. You got to have some kind of an ego to hold yourself up. But on the same token, if you're okay stepping away from it enough so that you find that balance, I think, to your term about the brand, I think that's kind of our brand. And if you really lean into that, you end up with stuff that looks pretty natural. Because we do try and let what's already there dictate things. Can't do it all the time, but we try really hard to do that and cover our tracks so that after the place is open, hopefully it looks like it's been there a while. And I think there's been a lot more attention given to that level of detail, which is fantastic, which hopefully leads back to doing less big stuff and more quiet, thoughtful stuff, which makes things they can be built faster and for less money. And it's funny how you pick a spot on that wheel and it starts spinning it, and everything's better at the end. So I do think that's our brand. Um, and I hope that's the vibe that we project in the stuff that we're doing. I also think people that are in a position to do a golf project, whether it's a developer or a group of people or a municipality, are also getting more savvy in finding good golf property. So they're looking a little harder. They're a little more patient, maybe even looking a little longer to make sure they've got something good to start with. Because if you're climbing that ladder and you're 3 rungs up to something good already, just by virtue of the fact that the ground can be good golf, um, there's value in that. And I think part of that too is just the wide range of attention that is being paid to architecture now, and all the resources we have as people who are interested in design can find all the books, the turn of the century books, and they can dig deep on the internet and really dive into it as deep as they want to go. And the deeper they go, typically it's the older stuff that's better. And if you pay attention to that, um, it serves you well, whether you're an architect or a golfer.
That's interesting because I was just about to ask. You mentioned collaboration, and my first thought was, how often do you feel like you're collaborating with the land itself? Because we were talking about the place we were playing yesterday. It's just a basic course. It's at Fort Gordon, but there seem to be these signature holes. So
Uh-huh.
I would assume at some point on 18 holes, there just has to be another one to get you to the next one. But how often are you trying to move the green from here to here so that it is a more natural track as opposed to you're not doing a lot of neighborhood golf courses right now, so that's a whole different design work. But how often are you really honest with the group, with that the movement that you have within the group itself, being able to allow the land to speak for it?
That's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to mind is when you were asking the question, Jonathan, is what I guess what we'd call like a connector hole.
Mm.
If you have a routing of a bunch of holes that are really natural and you like them and you think they'll be a good member of the 18-hole team, um, but you can't get from the third green to the fourth tee or the fifth tee without doing something in between, and the land doesn't lend itself at all. So you drop a bomb on that one hole and just go full tilt boogie to try and get that to speak the same language as the other really
Mhm.
natural holes. And sometimes minimalism, that all the way back to Tom sort of, getting credit for and sort of having that philosophy is dropping a bomb on a piece of ground, um, so that all the other natural holes can be realized. Because without that one connector hole, especially if it's a long hole like a long four or a par five, where you really have to work at it to make it fit, that work is as important as the other because the other holes can't be realized unless that hole exists to tie it all together. So, it's to your angle about collaborating. I think that is a collaboration of the ground saying, "Here's all my natural holes, but you guys got to figure out which one,
Mhm.
how to build something to get all our natural holes kind of built." And that's where the collaborative part of the people I work with, the guys who I respect, um, is really because there's so many different ways to be clever, and the right answer isn't the right answer. It's your
Yep.
answer. So, but that word collaborative is just, it really gets my dander up because everywhere I look now, architecture and buildings, music, fashion, everything is just kind of, it's all getting mushed together, and all these new things are coming out of that. And I think that's the way golf architecture used to be in the very early days, like Pine Valley, for example. There are half a dozen architects that have some sort of credit given to them for them contributing. It isn't just one or another. And I think the more comfortable we are doing that, the more interesting it gets, the more fun it is, and at the end of the day, hopefully the better the golf is too. And um, I love that. We always say golf projects are about the money, the land, and the people, but it's really about the people, and the people, and that collaborative effort. And that's something that I learned from Tom, because if you have the good people, the good people, the good people, you can figure out the money and you can sort out how to take full advantage of the land. Um, but as interesting as the world is right now, uh, it the collaborative nature of what's going on all around us is very exciting, especially if you feel like you're a creative person at all.
Yeah, we were just talking with Danny Christensen, who is a creative mind in branding and film and things like that. And he had this quote about collaboration that I just love, and it just resonates with me. It says, If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." And it echoes everything you're talking about, whether collaborating with the land itself, but especially with people. And we
No.
can all agree, right? You can go play golf by yourself, but wouldn't you
Mhm.
rather go play with people? Like surround yourself with others. So,
Yeah, there are
well,
merits to both, that's for sure.
yeah,
There's a book that comes to mind, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. Um, it's all about being creative, and Rick just, he was a not a musician, but he was an influencer of musicians and music, and worked with Johnny Cash and Tom Petty and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and helped them get out of their own way and be creative. And it was that interaction that really, I mean, all those groups are talented, but instead of going fast, they went with people and far. And it's that kind of stuff just really gets my attention.
I love it. Well, talk about some of your favorite projects that you have completed.
Hmm. Um, I have, for different reasons, Neal in Colorado comes to mind simply because I spent a lot of my life there. The site was just such a departure from what typically people think of Colorado. I was lucky to be on site and contribute during the process there, and wow, that place just, I'm just really proud of how it turned out, and I think people really enjoy it and they want to get back there quickly and play. Neal's at the top, but I also think um, Common Ground. in Denver, Colorado, for the State Golf Association of Colorado. It was initially a military property golf course. Had 18 holes and 18 greens, and that was about it. And we were able to reimagine it in its entirety. And we had a lot of fun doing that. The architecture there, we ended up calling Chicago style. So it was sort of McDonald, Rayner, Charles Banks-ish. And it was big and broad property. So we got to do some deliberate things to help sort of, um, you know, demonstrate what the architecture was going to be and how to get you thinking your way around the golf course. But beyond that, it's the mission statement of the State Golf Association that, to the name all the way through common ground. This is a game for the people. All their programs there are teaching people to play the short course for the kids. They've got an amazing caddy program through the Evan Scholars program there, the George Solich Academy, and it's their mission statement that drives that boat, and it has been fascinating to watch them meet those goals and then raise the bar for themselves continuously with access and getting clubs in people's hands, and I was involved with that a lot at the beginning, and I'm very proud of that because everyone on our roster, everyone, is a product of municipal public golf. That's where we all got our start. We've been very lucky to see um, the high level private facilities and courses and clubs around the world that exist, and there's that. I'm not knocking that at all, but there's just something about that foundational blue collar golf experience that just really it motivates me, and I'm grateful for it because that's who I am, really.
That's great. Yeah, Jonathan and I, our golf relationship, we worked together, but we started playing together at least on a muni
Mhm.
here in Columbia, South Carolina. So
Yeah, yeah,
love it.
Still one of
yeah.
my favorite courses.
Yeah,
Uh,
great layout. It could
Great
use
layout.
some a little bit of love and maybe some water. But well, what do you guys have in the works? Like what can we be looking out for?
We have, I'm trying to think here that we're wrapping up. Um, we're working on a project in Mexico for Tom. Punta Brava, we're about 19, 18 holes, 17 holes in, one to go there. Um, we're also very lucky to be working with Dream Golf and the Kaiser family, young Mike Kaiser at Wild Spring Dunes in eastern Texas. Just finished up a project also in Texas Childress Hall. But we've got a lot of irons in the fire right now, and there's always that you hope for a return on investment, and you don't know how things are going to go. But the inquiries from different places um, are real, and a new project in Scotland that Brian Schneider has secured called the Mains of Cairnbulge outside of Fraserburgh, east of Inverness. So I mean, we're just really lucky to be entertaining the what's the real developmental momentum right now, and really excited. A second golf course at Old Barnwell called the Gilroy,
Oh yes.
um, on the heels of the kids course, which is one of my favorite places on the planet, is the kids course at Old Barnwell. Um, and it's an exciting time, and the world is interesting right now, and hopefully the momentum will continue, and the opportunities keep coming. But I can tell you from everyone in our camp, we're really grateful to be doing the things we are with the people that we are on the properties that we are. I mean, we're really, really lucky, really lucky.
Are there projects that you've have some, I don't know if intimidation is the right word. Is there a trepidation whenever you think about I'm going to go build a new course in Scotland, or
Hmm.
I'm going to add to the dream family of golf courses? Like, because there are expectations that every golfer's coming in with that it's your responsibility, at least part of your responsibility, to meet.
Indeed, Jonathan, very well put. That expectation is high. We look at it as a challenge, but it's real. And so I think the one of the things that makes it challenging is trying not to do too much of what you've already had success with.
Mhm.
You have a great debut album, and your tendency is to stay in that lane and do something with your sophomore album that's maybe not too much of a departure because the first one was so successful, but yet you don't want to just keep doing the same thing over and over. Which is where the collaborative effort from everybody in the camp is really important. So you feel like you're staying a step ahead, and at least you're being thoughtful and thinking that way. But there's absolutely an expectation. Over the years, we've had clients say, we'll pick you as long as you promise this is going to be a top 100 in the United States, or the top 50 or top 5 in the state, or top 50 in the world, or whatever. And you can imagine the slippery slope that is,
Right.
to take that and say, no problem, we got that covered. Um, and we're fortunate enough to be old enough and have done enough that we can just say, we're not going to make you that promise. We're just going to do the very best work that we can. And we feel like you'll be happy with the product at the end. And, when you've been doing it a while, you can say that. You can't say that if you're new. I mean, if you're trying to get your first job is way harder than the next 5. And then after the first job, the second job often is even harder, for that same reason, if you've had success. So, um, yeah, the expectations are there, but we try really hard to shoulder that as a team. And if you do that, you're more likely to be successful. But the expectation is a challenge too. I think one advantage we have right now is that people are thinking about golf in different ways. What is a golf experience? Is it less than 18 holes? Is it, there's no recipe anymore of par threes, fours, and fives and all of that kind of stuff. So that gives you a little room to wiggle in the phone booth. We try and take advantage of that, but we expectations are real. And if you have them, you're probably just fortunate to be in a position that people are expecting a lot from you.
Yeah, I love the thoughts of how golf is evolving to, like you said, maybe it doesn't have to be 18 holes. I mean, that's what took me to Sand Valley was the
Mm,
media day event to go see the Commons, Jimmy Craig
yes.
and what they are doing there. That place is going to be awesome, and of course, I got to experience the other great properties there. But I just love how yeah, we want to stay traditional with golf and just make it
Right.
fun, but we don't
Mhm.
have to stick with 18. We don't, and so it's I appreciate the challenge that you guys are under to continue making great things. And like you said, you're not going to promise anything. You're just going to keep doing what you do, and what y'all do is really, really good. So I think there's got to be confidence from those that work with y'all. So well
Well,
done.
cheers, Robbie. That's kind of you. That's kind of you.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's and I feel like Jonathan and I, we could talk to you forever about this stuff. This is
right back
it's
at you.
yeah, but let's talk a little bit. We'll start to wrap up. We ask a question to all of our guests. We want to hear the story of your most memorable golf shot.
My most memorable golf shot. Wow. Um,
And maybe it's somewhere like in dirt or in trees where a course is about to happen. I don't know.
right. There's many of them because when you hit it as poorly as I do, you have infinite opportunity to hit something amazing as a recovery. But one of the shots that comes to mind for me, was in high school. I was playing golf, just my dad and I, at an executive course, Spring Hill Golf Links in Aurora, Colorado. That's where we all practiced our high school and everything, and where I met my greatest friends, my golf coach, greatest friend. Um, but it was just my dad and I going around. And, I was a kid. I was trying to beat my dad, and I wanted to beat him the way I wanted to beat him. And he always saw through that, and he would challenge me with things to try stuff I'd never tried. And we were on the 14th hole at Spring Hill, par 3. It was about 220, a really long par 3. And I refused at that age to hit my driver on a par 3. I'm just not going to do it. It's not what you do. I'm strong enough, all those things. And my dad hit his driver, knocked it right on the green. And then I followed up, hitting mine, and just learned that it just didn't really matter. And when the ball came off the club, I would never have gotten it there with anything less. It
Mhm.
just wasn't going to happen. So that's a memorable shot for me, not so much of how the ball ended up, but about thinking about what golf really is, and how to do it, how to golf your ball. I would say that's probably one of my more memorable, and just spending time with my dad makes them all memorable. Yeah.
That's a
Amen to
great one.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, another thing we like to do with our guests is what we call a quick nine. So just a
Uh-huh.
few rapid back and forth here. And I
Yes.
can't imagine how you pick one out, but what is the favorite course that you've played?
Favorite course that I've played? Probably North Berwick in Scotland. East of Edinburgh was the our home course almost when we were building the Renaissance Club at Archerfield. And that place is special. It so many holes that you'll never see anywhere else. And we were playing in the summer when it was light till 11 o'clock. So, and it's always different and so quirky and wonderful and odd and fun, just fun, so much fun. Short and manageable, all the things. It's all the things. Yeah, definitely North Berwick.
It's a good one.
Nice. We did not play that one while we were there. This next question, man, I kind of find it interesting to ask because you have designed so many people's bucket list courses. So I got to ask though, what is the top of your bucket list?
For a project that hasn't been done
No,
yet.
no, to go play.
To go play.
Oh, to go play. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So that is a good one.
And you could pick one of your own, but I imagine you've already played them.
Yeah, you know, that's a really good question. I'm trying to think. So many of them in the UK. I've never played Lahinch. Never played Lahinch. I would love to see that because that's influenced stuff that I grew up playing in Colorado that Tom did when he was young. The ninth hole there is modeled after the Dell at Lahinch. So I think that's definitely, it's up there. And anything else I can get my hands on while I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the best course that no one knows about?
Hmm. I can tell you from experience here in northern Michigan that it could be Champion Hill or Pinecroft, here in northern Michigan, simply because it's in the neighborhood of Crystal Downs and Belvedere and so many great golf courses. And they're great because they are the best example of great golf, um, without spending a lot of money. And they're very natural. They're very northern Michigan. They spend the money on all the things that are important and not on any of the things that are not. And I think that model could serve so many clubs going forward. It's just deciding how to use your resources. And I can promise you that anybody listening to this has probably never heard of either one of those places. But if they get to northern Michigan anytime, check them out.
Jonathan, we need a trip to northern Michigan.
Sounds
It's,
like
Indeed.
it's been on that area has been on my like bucket list area of golf for a while. So yeah. Who would be in your dream foursome?
My dream foursome, people that are still with us, no limit on,
no
It's your dream.
limits.
on my dream. I'd love to go around in a group with old Tom Morris. Um, Pretty standard, I suppose. Tiger Woods, just to, when he was playing in his prime and his command of the golf ball and how he could hit it and what he was doing. Um, Boy, the list of my close friends is long, and I'm lucky it could be any of them, but I'd probably like to play golf with my dad one more time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
he's really the reason I'm not just the reason I'm here, but the reason I'm here.
Yeah. All right. What is your walk-up song to the first tee?
Oh, wow. Um, Great question. Anything by Johnny Cash. Anything by Johnny Cash. It kind of gets you, you know, juiced and jazzed up a little bit, but it also kind of relaxes you a little bit as well. Um, if you're juiced and relaxed and you're walking to the first tee, you're probably in a good mind, a good headspace.
Sometimes when I'm walking off 18, "Hurt" by Johnny Cash is running through my
Isn't that great? One artist can
he can
cover the
cover
whole,
everything.
I,
gambit, and
I was just
he
thinking
can certainly do that. Yeah,
he's
yeah,
got a good metronome to most of his stuff too. So like,
indeed.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yep.
What's the favorite club in the bag right now?
For me, my closest high school and college friends finally helped me graduate to technology across the board with a driver and a hybrid, and I'm playing pretty new player performance, player enhanced ping irons right now. But my mother and father-in-law, David and Nancy, for my birthday, scored me. I've been rolling the ball with an 8802 and a ping answer for years, and I just go back and forth. But I've finally got a tailor-made spider in my bag, and I played it all the rounds at Sand Valley. And technology is, well, it isn't just good for drivers and wedges and utility clubs. It's amazing. My dad always used to say, son, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. But this is a pretty fine arrow that I'm putting with right now. It's fun when technology can help you enjoy the game more, and so that's been a gift for me. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I got it from my former golf coach in high school, is a TaylorMade rep, and he helped me make that connection, and it makes golf fun, and anything you can do to make golf a little more fun is good.
true story. All right. What is your favorite snack on the course? And I'm going to ask it in two ways.
Uh-huh.
What would you eat in America and what would you eat overseas? Because those are drastically different snacks.
Oh, wow, that's true. We're talking about food, not beverages.
Yeah, food.
Yeah. Um, in the States, I'm all about peanuts. They I just really enjoy those. And let's see, overseas, gosh, so many options there. Um, First thing I think about overseas is fish and chips. Not really an on-course snack, though.
Yeah, but
Not really an on-course snack.
I feel like we should take Japanese golf to America. Like in Japan, you go there and you're supposed to spend like 7 hours because you've got this pre-golf thing. At the turn, you're supposed to stop for an hour and a half and have a full meal and everything else. Then you get
Hmm.
done. There's a massage. I'd love to have a meal in the middle of every round. If I could
Yeah,
stop
that's
at number
I'm great.
9, that'd be great.
I've had that experience, Jonathan, and it is that. I mean, just the privilege to play 18 holes in Japan is a huge privilege, but it starts in the morning and it lasts all day. And all you want to do is hit rewind after you're finished, because it's a very, very different experience. Couldn't agree more. A full meal in between nines,
Right.
Although
absolutely.
although you and I both on separate trips just went to Sand Valley, and their on-course food options are ridiculous. The dollar
That's
dollar
killer.
taux at Craig's Porch.
So I can't.
Oh,
I mean, every course has this unique thing, but it was,
the,
and I love the price.
the Italian beef,
Oh yeah,
edge. I mean, and it is the price. You're laying out $1 or $2 or $3.
yeah,
It just makes it taste even that much better.
it really
Uh,
does.
yeah, that's the experience there too. So much of that place they've really sorted out, and it's if you have that option of getting to experience the game there, it's really great.
Yeah,
It's really good.
I don't know if you're the guy to talk to about this, but this question all started because I had tacos in Cabo every
Uh-huh.
3 holes.
Oh, wow.
They built taco stands on this golf course, so you came through the first 3. When you went to number 4, you got free tacos on the way, free tacos and a drink. And they
Oh,
routed it so you came back around to like number 7 or 8. same
It
taco
got them in.
stand, get them again. And on back nine, they did it as well. So I had, I don't know, I had like 12 tacos through. I don't remember what I scored because it wasn't that good anyway, but I remember the tacos.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the perfect distraction. If you're not hungry or thirsty,
Right.
they're taking care of you and increases the enjoyment. No question about it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we were talking about your hat. You got the Sedge Valley logo on it. But we asked the question, and I love this, but what is your favorite golf course logo?
Oh, boy, that's a good. I love a logo that's really understated, and I typically lean towards anything that doesn't have a golf club or a golf ball or a tee or a grip or a flag or a green or any of those kinds of things. Um, Boy, it's hard to really say what my favorite is. I remember Sandhills, just the branded S and H as being one of the first that really got comfortable just going that direction, and it's really understated and um, but it's very recognizable too. So that would have to be definitely be one of my favorites. The um, wicket basket at Marion, kind of for the. I mean, that's a flagstick, true, but it's not a typical golf icon. I love something that tells a little bit about the place and the story of the place, the genus loci of why that place has the uniqueness that it does. Love the logo at the Lido too. The siren. It's just it makes you ask more questions about the history of the place and anything that inspires some more thought. Um, yeah, I that's a great challenge is coming up with a logo that functions as a logo but also tells a story.
Yeah. You mentioned the Gilroy that Brian's working on,
Yes,
and the armadillo, right? And it's because they keep finding all these armadillo all over the place. So
perfect example. Yeah.
a little history that if you don't know the place, you don't know.
Right, and it compels you to maybe investigate, and
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Last question here. Finish this sentence. The best part of golf is,
One-word answer?
it's up to you.
Uh, for me, it's the people. It's the people, it's everyone that has taught me something along the way, made me appreciate something I didn't before, made me look at something in a different way. Um, yeah, it's all about the people that have been golf oriented in my life. The list is really long and they're a big reason, every single one of them in some way. And in the story that's been my journey here. So yeah, it's the people, 100% the people.
Well, we agree. And the best part for us in doing this is meeting people like you. And hopefully one day we can tee it up together, maybe on one of your courses. So
I would love it. Come to Northern Michigan and we'll get it done.
let's make
Yeah,
it happen.
get it
Great.
done.
Well,
All right.
Don, this has been a lot of fun. We really appreciate your time. It's been an honor to have you on this show.
Cheers. Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed the dialogue. When you feel like you could just keep going and keep going, you know you've had a good conversation.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, for Don and Jonathan, this is Robby, and you all have been listening to another episode of the Whole Story Podcast.